Tom, for introducing me briefly. I hope I'm well audible. So, good morning, good day, everybody. My name is Ranganathan, and as Tom mentioned, I currently work for Equinor as the senior leader of people and leadership, and I'm based here in Norway, in Stavanger. A little bit about myself before I go into the purpose of my presentation. I'm originally from India, and of course, all of you are hearing about this country in a very unfortunate context right now. So I hope you can keep India in your thoughts and prayers with regard to what's going on there with COVID. I have done my education in India, in Singapore, and in the UK, and then started working for Statoil at that point here in Norway. After which I've also spent 5 years in the United States, same with Statoil/Equinor, helping with the buildup of our US business, and then came back to Norway in 2017 and have had different kinds of roles, all the way from an HR business partner in the upstream exploration as well as the development and production business, to heading up talent acquisition and mobility for the North America region. I've also been in the corporate function to be responsible for the people performance management. And my current role, which has been a fantastic steep learning curve for the past 1.5 years, is actually to do with leading the function for IT and digital in terms of people strategy, culture, and leadership. So in terms of the main purpose of my presentation today, I wanted to basically take a step back and reflect with all of you what we perhaps know quite a bit about, but may not have had the opportunity to reflect enough on. So the main purpose is going to be to talk a little bit and share a little bit with you about Equinor's journey of digital transformation, and what are some successes we have seen along the way, which are promising signs for us as we tread on this path, as well as what are some lessons that we have learned and want to take that back and apply into the continuous learning loop. And I'm hoping that all of you see yourselves in this journey also in some form or shape, because at a very macro level, what we are really talking about is a transformation that is sweeping through all the industries, all companies, all organizations, all teams, and all people. So at some level, some of our challenges are quite similar and comparable. So hopefully we kind of take it from there. But before I get started, I would like to give a quick introduction of who is Equinor. And before I get there, a quick check. Is my slides okay and everything is good? I'm assuming everything looks fine. If in case of any technical challenges, please just let me know. I will handle as best as I can. Okay, so in terms of who we are as Equinor, as I mentioned, the industry, the energy industry, as well as a lot of other industries, we are going through fundamental changes, all the way from, geopolitical shifts, industrial transformation, the market that is impacting profit margins, the low carbon future based on climate change, and the pressing demands that are coming on us as an industry. All of these things are posing challenges towards new ways of thinking, of transforming our business and how we work. And in Equinor, we see these changes as opportunities to shape and improve and drive the energy transition. Our goal is indeed to be the leaders towards the energy transition. And hence, our purpose as a company is turning natural resources into energy for people and progress for society. It's quite an ambitious vision when we say shaping the future of energy, because that comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of ambition, and a lot of challenges. But we take pride in being a values-based company where empowered people collaborate to shape the future of energy. So from that perspective, a little bit more into the specifics. We are, Equinor is about a 20,000 people company, headquartered in Norway, but we have a presence in about 30 countries. And to give you a little bit of a flavor around the business landscape, the adjusted earnings for Q4 2020 were $3.9 billion US. We produce about 2.07 million barrels of oil equivalent per day. We're powering 1 million European homes through our offshore wind business. And about 36% of our oil and gas production is now from outside of Norway. So that speaks a little bit to also the ambition transforming from the national oil company of Norway into an international energy player. So digital transformation is not something that has cropped up now, to be very open with you. This is something that has been there for the past 3-4 decades, and our industry has a history of applying new technologies. In fact, it was this industry where we were one of the early pioneers that brought supercomputing, for example, into commercial business. So data and software have been very important parts of our technology development for decades. But what is different now? What is different about the past 1 decade, for example? It's the speed of innovation. It's the pace that is really accelerating the transformation that is hitting us. We have been on a journey with technology and innovation, but of course, this acceleration, this pace, and most recently compounded with the context of COVID, has further accelerated the need in terms of adoption, implementation of digital solutions, and is hence impacting both what and how we do business. So in Equinor, digital transformation is about improving and transforming our business process and ways of working. But what is digital transformation most importantly about? And I will shed more light on this as I go further. It's about people. It is about improving safety and security for our people. It is about empowering people through data and access to the right tools and information in order for them to be able to do their work more effectively. It is about leveraging the diversity of knowledge, experience, and thinking in order to remove inefficiencies in our work processes, create greater work effectiveness, and drive business value. So indeed, digitalization is on everybody's lips these days, but at Equinor, we have really tried to make this part of our DNA, and our story is one of innovation and technological development, where we are putting our industrial strength behind digital. And that's kind of just to give you a flavor, we're investing about 1 to 2 billion NOK by 2020, which was last year, on top of existing investments in IT. So that's a significant commitment towards a transformation. It's no joke, it's no small value. It's very significant all the way from a vision and ambition to a goal. And therefore, it's very important for us to make sure we secure a global leadership position in digital. Because digital is not the goal in itself, but it's the key for us to achieve our strategy, which is always safe, high value, and low carbon. So in our goals towards digitalization, there are 4 main things that we try and look at. The first is safety. So through digital, we aim to improve our safety performance. Safety is not just about numbers. It is personal. It's about me and each of my colleagues going home safely to their families. So that is the first one, whether we talk about applying remote operations, inspections in more deeper locations being done by drones. These are all digital initiatives to improve safety. Second, we work on reducing development and operational cost by developing remotely operated facilities. And this also helps us in automating a lot of manual work. So that is the second one. Third, we want to increase recovery from our fields. So basically bring more oil, gas, or energy sources up into the running and increase our profitability. So that is one of the main goals with data, with digital tools, as well as processes. And fourth, of course, our commitment is to make sure that we will be well positioned for a low carbon future. And that is about reducing greenhouse gas emissions, both in our oil and gas, but also the renewables business. And these are some of the overarching goals we have with regard to digital transformation. Now, let's get a little bit into more about what it is about. So when an organization like ours, or any of the places where you work, we start by ascertaining our business goal, which in our case is always safe, high value, low carbon, and we want to be players and the shapers of the energy transition. And then we identify that digital transformation is a very strong enabler and is a key player in helping us to get there, among many others, of course. But then what is this transformation about? We said we start with a strategy, and then we look at tools which are going to help improve our processes. And then we're going to optimize for tasks and processes and activities that are not value adding by automating them and increasing workforce efficiency. But if you see what's the one common thread around all this, it's people. It's our workforce, it's our talent in the organization, because it's that muscle that basically sets the strategy. It's our people who help us define goals. It's our people who help us scout, identify processes and tools where we can optimize, improve, and create value. So I would dare to say, digital transformation really is 80 to 90%. It's about our people. So with that pretext, let's go a little bit deeper into what do I mean when I say people, and how have we approached it in Equinor. So keeping people at the center of digital transformation has actually been quite a journey for us. It's also been a learning, and it's been a great enabler. But when I started in my role, about 18 months ago, and I had the privilege of talking to quite a few of our peer companies, some of whom I've mentioned here, and to learn more about how they have approached digitalization in their organizations. So many of them really, talked about people, about talent, about leadership, competence. These were some of the most central themes, actually, when they spoke about digital transformation, more than machine learning, AI, robotics, etc., because it's the people who get us to those outcomes. So we've then approached people, the dimension in digital transformation, from 4 angles. First, competence. Second, capacity. Third, leadership. And fourth, culture. As I mentioned right at the beginning, none of this is rocket science. I'm 100% sure all of you are encountering these things as part of your work. And there are many other ways to approach or slice the pie around how do we approach the people dimension. This is how we approached it 18 months ago when I started in this role. So let's go through a little bit on what are some things we have done with regard to these 4. And I wanted to kind of share with you what are some promising signals and successes, as well as what are some speed bumps that we've faced and lessons we've learned along the way, so that you can take them with you. So our ambition with regard to digital is to be a digital energy company by 2025. That's what we want to be recognized for. And on the people side, some of the activities we have engaged is ensuring we have a good focus on holistic competence development. So at Equinor, we have our internal learning solutions provided by Equinor University, which also consists of different portfolios which are anchored to the overall strategy. So one of the things we have there is our digital portfolio. And the focus here is about ensuring we have good learning and competence development activities and programs across the organization, which range all the way from, getting our digital citizens ready, so getting the basics up and running, to ensuring that we have dedicated programs to address specific competence needs for our flagship initiatives and projects. And on top of that, we also want to make sure our leaders have a good amount of training and development activities. So I'll come to that a little bit later on leadership. So in Equinor University, we have digital for all, digital for experts, and we work hand in hand with some of our flagship projects to also define learning needs and get ahead of the game in competence development. That's where Equinor University has been extremely key. Second is a digital governance framework. So for a large organization, may not be as large in terms of workforce size, but if you look at the size of our business, the size of the portfolio, it is very important to set the right governance. And when we think about digital projects, it is important to cater to the scale, to the speed, to the agility of these projects. And hence we set up a digital governance model. This framework has a focused effort on change management of digital projects. And when I say change management, it means we have specific change coaches, change capabilities that we build, and that is also required in a way as part of the governance framework. And this includes coaches and change agents to help with adoption of digital tools, to build capability on usership, and for continuous improvement skills. Further, in our digital governance framework, we also make sure we address the capacity bucket, because it's one thing to have competence in the company, but with the pace of digital transformation, you have a lot of activities and a lot of projects that kick off simultaneously. So it's very important that we have a method of prioritizing and securing the right capacity for the right projects. So we try to address capacity, change management, coaching, culture building through our digital governance framework. Third, in order to embed digital into our DNA, it's very important that we really focus on habits and behaviors. Because if I think about, for example, a change management model, we talk a lot about awareness, we talk about building desire and then building skills, but then we talk about practice, reinforcement, and ensuring that the change truly occurs in how we work. From that perspective, engagement and communication has been very important. And when I say communication, it's not just about storytelling on, at a macro level, why digitalization is important. It's about communicating some of the stories on how this impacts each one of us. For example, when we set up a remote operations center, which means for any offshore rig, if we have an operations center that is remotely set up onshore in one of our offices, this has suddenly opened up a lot of possibilities, say, for example, pregnant women, handicapped people to actually work in these jobs. It has increased safety. It has increased work-life balance and flexibility. So digital is not just about putting tools and very complicated systems in place. It's about our lives. It's about how we as people benefit from it. And that sort of storytelling, that sort of communication, that sort of engagement is extremely important. So maybe one of the things outside of this meeting, if you are interested, if you go on Equinor.com, there is something called loop stories. These are actually some of the stories that we've shared, which reflect a lot of this. How is digital transformation very personal? It's about people. And that has been a great motivator for us to attract talent from the external market as well. Further, we also try to make sure we have engagement at the level of goal setting. So when people set their goals, people set team goals and team ambitions to reflect on how digitalization is coming in there, is imbibed over there as an enabler. So those are some of the communication and engagement activities. And then I come to my area of passion and the crown jewel in terms of where I think there's a lot of power, and that's leadership. Leadership really is the glue to all of this, because it starts from role modeling. It comes to learning. It is about engaging and making sure we have the right communication, the right messages, the right goals, the right follow-up. All of these things come from leadership. So we've spent a lot of time in terms of developing our leadership capabilities in the company, all the way from, identifying leaders who have motivation to take on roles as digital project leaders and giving them more systematic exposure more kind of learning activities. We also have a flagship program with UC Berkeley, where we specifically designed a program for our leaders on digital transformation. So some of these things. And then we also have digital boot camps, where we have some digital coaches who actually go from leadership teams one to another to kind of coach them alongside how they should be thinking of their business goals and plans to embed digital. So those sorts of boot camps. We also have boot camps in the sense of quick upskilling, getting our leaders to make sure they have some basic understanding of all the way from what is AI, what is ML, why is robotics important for our business. So really getting some of those things under their skin. We've hopefully now, we've gone up to about 1,500 leaders in this company where we've worked with them in different capacities to upskill, reskill, train, prepare them. And the journey, of course, continues. So some of the successes, or I would say, it's more promising signs, because this is more a journey and we can't say it's a success at one point. So some of the promising signs we see is we have an increasing safety and security focus in the company as a result of communicating the importance of digital to help secure safe and secure operations. Second, we've had a lot of learning activities and networks. And the reason I've mentioned this is, as all of you know, training or courses is just one way of learning. And now when we talk about learning, it's the full spectrum of how we build networks, how we share with each other, how we problem solve in different fora. And it's those activities that have significantly increased in the company, which I think is a promising sign. So we in 2020 had more than 61,000 learning activities going on in the digital circle. Third is securing prioritization. So as I mentioned, with our digital governance, one of the things we have been able to do is make sure we have the right focus. Instead of trying to achieve 200 projects, go for the big 50, for example, and make sure we have our muscle put over there, prioritized. So securing that sort of capacity has been quite helpful. Fourth, change management and communication. Again, through the digital governance model, ensuring that along the different gates, decision gates and execution gates of our projects, we have change management. We work with people to systematically build usership. It's one thing to create tools and put tools out there, but it's about creating usership, creating the pull, which change management through the digital governance has helped us. Last, leadership role modeling. I think the voice of leaders is extremely crucial. And one of the things that I see good signs about in the organization is each time leaders engage in learning activities or sharing activities, when they sit down with people to learn about projects, when they sit down to communicate the value of digital projects into people efficiencies, it makes a lot of difference. And I think that sort of a role modeling has been very important. So those are some of the promising signs we see. And at the same time, of course, we have lessons that we have learned. So I'll spend a few quick minutes over there, and then we go into questions. First, the most important lesson. It's very important to balance the pace of transformation. Because in a large company like Equinor, we have an oil and gas part, we have an exploration part, we have a marketing, we have a renewable stream, we have technology, we have finance, and all of these have different needs and different pace of transformation. So it's very important as a company that you balance that pace. No one size will ever fit all. Second, focus on changing behaviors. So as I talked about, it's one thing in a change management setup to think about building awareness, creating excitement, doing a lot of training. But where you really change behavior is when you get it back into people's jobs and when they apply, and when we reinforce that. So focus on that enablement zone. Third, visualize progress, because that is one way of how you will sustain momentum. Communicate continuously, visualize it in every small way, dashboards, team goals, etc. Fourth, continuous talent development. So when I say talent development here, It's not just about you recruit and then we are done. A bunch of data scientists coming in are not going to shape and change the whole digital journey. It's about ensuring they understand the business goals, continuously anchor with the strategic priorities, as well as inside the company. We make sure people have a lot of external orientation, but also anchored to internal goals. So that sort of a balance of developing people is a continuous effort. It's not one time. And last, this is probably the sum up of everything, which is please transform by intent rather than by chance. Of course, we will have our businesses are in a nature where a lot of things tend to hit us. So we will have a lot of ad hoc challenges to face. But as long as we are very clear on our strategic ambitions, we should just keep anchoring what are these things hitting us and are they really something that will help us achieve goals. So in a way, I would say a planned chaos is what we are striving for. So make sure you transform by intent and not by chance. So with that, just want to conclude by saying and reinforcing that the most fundamental part about digital is human. So make sure we really keep our focus on people. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share some of our journey and our thoughts, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Uma. I like the planned chaos. That's our life. So that's a good message. We have time for only, unfortunately, one question. But can you say a little bit about what does this mean for human resource management in the organization? Is human resource management also changing? And what are the elements that need to change in HR?
That is a fantastic question. So I would say it has a very significant impact for our human resources function. And maybe I will say at 3 levels. It's people, it's process, and it's tools. So the most obvious that we tend to talk a lot about is in HR, we need to have the right tools, the right process, the right tools and the right data sets to be able to make good data-driven decisions in HR as well, whether it's decisions about salary, decisions about succession planning, about workforce planning, all of those. So making sure having the right tools and data is extremely key. Second, process optimization. In HR, we need to really rethink onboarding, offboarding. We need to rethink talent assessments. Gamification is impacting a lot of that. We need to rethink leadership development activities. So processes and how we run some of these processes, payroll, all of the admin processes as well. And third, of course, it's our people. So we need to take our own medicine all the way from upskilling, building more capacity to focus on value-adding tasks. It's about taking a step into more data-driven decisions. And a lot of times when I've spoken about this to HRs, they feel it's hypothetical, but it's very real. We have a lot of potential to have data-driven decisions, and it's happening already. So these are the 3 ways in which I think digital is kind of impacting us as HRs.
All right, thank you very much, and a round of applause for you. I hope you can hear it, and well, we hope to see you live somewhere, someplace in the coming year. Take care.